Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we are diving into a story that has stirred international headlines and reignited heated debate around South Africa's land reform policies, racial narratives, and political posturing, this time involving none other than Julius Malema, the firebrand leader of the economic freedom fighters, and the White House itself. Now imagine this, a video of Julius Malema, a South African politician known for his unapologetic views on land redistribution and economic justice, being played during a meeting in Washington, D.C., inside the White House. That's right. According to reports, American officials allegedly played footage of Malema during a behind-closed-doors meeting, possibly discussing the controversial topic of white genocide and land expropriation in South Africa. In response, Malema didn't hold back. With characteristic boldness, he brushed it off as nothing more than international gossip. His words: "A group of older men meet in Washington to gossip about me. Sharp, sarcastic, and defiantly political." But what lies beneath this moment is much deeper, and far more contentious, than a soundbite or a reaction. The entire situation shines a spotlight on South Africa's bitterly divided land ownership legacy, the controversial policy of land expropriation without compensation, and the ongoing international perception, or misperception, of white farmers being systematically targeted. To give context, let's take a quick step back. South Africa's land ownership patterns are a direct consequence of centuries of colonization and apartheid, where the black majority was dispossessed and forced into poverty while the white minority benefited from privileged access to land and resources. Land reform has been central to the post-apartheid discourse, and for Julius Malema and the EFF, this isn't just a talking point, it's the core of their political agenda. Malema has never wavered on this issue. He insists that land expropriation without compensation is not a form of revenge but a necessary redress of historic injustice. He sees it as a democratic correction, reclaiming what was stolen during colonial rule and apartheid. But to critics, especially conservative voices abroad, it's been spun into something more sinister. They allege that this policy opens the door to violence, economic instability, and even racial persecution of white South Africans, particularly farmers. This is where the term white genocide emerges, a term often propagated by far-right commentators in the US, Europe, and Australia. It claims that white South Africans, especially farmers, are being systematically killed due to state-sanctioned neglect or hostility. It's a highly inflammatory claim, one that has been repeatedly debunked by human rights organizations, crime analysts, and even South African police statistics, which show that the vast majority of violent crime victims are black South Africans living in impoverished communities. Yet, this narrative refuses to die. And now, with this reported White House meeting, it seems to have resurfaced on the international stage, this time with the EFF's rhetoric being scrutinized from Washington. Malema, in his response, doubled down. He didn't walk back a single word. He didn't apologize. Instead, he reiterated his stance that South Africa's land belongs to its people, and it's time the injustice is reversed. No sugarcoating. No pandering to the West. Just raw political conviction. But let's ask, why is the White House interested in Malema at all? Some analysts argue that the United States has growing concerns about South Africa's political direction. With 2024 elections looming, the EFF is becoming a bigger player in the political landscape. Its appeal to young, frustrated voters is rising. If Malema and the EFF gain more influence in parliament or even enter into coalition power, US policymakers and investors are clearly worried about the implications, economically and geopolitically. Let's not forget, the US has always been deeply interested in African politics when it affects their strategic interests, minerals, global alliances, economic markets. And with South Africa being a member of BRICS, the economic bloc challenging Western hegemony, tensions are bound to rise. Back home, Malema's words have drawn mixed reactions. His supporters celebrated his defiance as a sign of true leadership, a man unafraid to speak back to global powers and defend South Africa's sovereignty. But critics worry that his tone and refusal to moderate his messaging could inflame tensions, scare away foreign investors, and isolate South Africa diplomatically. The truth is, this whole incident reveals something far more serious: the global struggle to define the post-colonial African narrative. Should African nations shape their own path, rooted in historical truth, social justice, and redistribution of wealth? Or should they tiptoe around global powers, soften their policies, and maintain the neoliberal status quo? Malema's confrontation with the White House, whether literal or symbolic, is not just about land or politics. It's about who gets to define justice. It's about reclaiming space in global discourse. And it's about refusing to apologize for challenging systems that continue to benefit from past injustice. One might not always agree with Malema's tactics or tone, but what's clear is that his presence, even indirectly, in rooms like the White House, signals that African voices are no longer confined to local debates. They are echoing through global halls of power. And they will not be ignored. As the 2024 elections approach, we can expect land reform and racial justice to take center stage once again. Malema has made it crystal clear: he won't be silenced by Washington, London, or anyone else. His political message, controversial as it may be, is now being debated on a global scale. But we want to hear your views. Do you think Julius Malema's defiance is necessary leadership or reckless politics? Should South Africa pursue land expropriation without compensation more aggressively, or is there a more balanced path? Let us know in the comments section below. Don't forget to like this video if you found it insightful, and subscribe to the channel for more in-depth political analysis from across South Africa and the continent. Hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.